editor, currently working as the director for the Center of Comparative Religion and Culture in Kolkata. She is the author of multiple books on dharma and ethics and has edited numerous anthologies on Sri Aurobindo's thought, Body, Mind, and Human Condition from Sri Aurobindo's Perspective is one of her recent works to be published soon. I request you, ma'am, to kindly join us on stage, Indrani Sanyal ji. She'll be chairing the session. Let's also welcome on the days Sri Govindaswamy Rajagopal. He's a professor of Tamil at the University of Delhi. His research interests include Sangam Akam literature and Bhakti literature. He has translated many ancient Tamil texts into English. He has 8 books to his credit, along with numerous research articles. Sri Govindaswamy Rajagopal ji, kindly join us. We will also be joined online by Sri G.S.R. Krishnamurti. He is Vice Chancellor, National Sanskrit University, Tirupati, with over 37 years of teaching and research experience. He is the author of 10 original books and 7 translations with over 40 articles to his credit. He was recognized by the Uttar Pradesh Sahitya Akademi for his contributions. He'll be joining us soon online. I hand over the mic to our chair, Shrimati Indrani Sanyal ji.
Please give me the name. Thank you. In this session, there are 3 speakers. One speaker will be online. He is G.S.R. Krishnamurti. He is Vice Chancellor, National Sanskrit University, Tirupati. Now here, myself, I am also one of the speakers, and apart from me, Professor Govindaswamy Rajagopal is a professor of Tamil at the University of Delhi. And now I am requesting Professor Rajagopal to present his lecture.
Respected Chairperson, fellow participants, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Govindaswamy Rajagopal, Tamil teacher from Delhi University. Titled Sculpting the Landscape, Magnificence of Sangam Literature. Tamil, an amazingly accomplished classical language of India, is universally acclaimed for its ancient literary corpus called Sangam literature. The treasure trove of the Sangam literature consists of 18 literary works, 8 Togai, that is 8 anthology, and 10 Pattu, 10 songs. These exceptional literary works, comprising 2,381 independent lyrics, were composed by over 473 poets who lived between approximately 300 BC and 300 C, Christian era. Arguably, these lyrics hold a profound place in India's literary and cultural heritage. These poetical works intricately illustrate women's interior feelings, called aham, and men's exterior actions, called puram. Aham poems are love poems. Puram poems compass all other themes, usually about wars, heroics, and glories of chieftains and kings, administration, ethics and values, munificence, panegyrics, elegies, and more. Of these, the Agamjan uniquely sculpts the intricate human emotions in the framework of three poetical elements that is called Mudal, the first things, that is land and time. Then second element, Karu, the native background elements. And the third, very unique and important is Uri, the human sensual feelings. The Mudal has two units. One, Nilam, land, and Porudu. The first unit is divided into 5 distinctive landscapes, namely Kurinji, hill tract, Mullai, forest tract, Marudam, cultivable land tract, Naidal, seaside tract, and Palai, desert-like tract. The second is divided into 2 categories. Perumbuludu, that is large time units of 1 year. Sirubuludu, the time unit, 6 time units of 1 day. Kurinji, the mountain region is conventionally associated with the season of evening dew and midnight. Mullai, the forest region with the rainy season and evening. Marudam, the pastoral region with all seasons and latter part of the night and dawn. Naidal, the seashore region with all seasons and twilight. And Palai, the desert region with summer, the season of morning dew and midday. There are several native elements, such as deities, tribes, flora and fauna, birds and bees, food items, professions, arts, musical instruments, cultural, etc., assigned to Karu, the second element. Each of the 5 landscapes is associated with an appropriate love feelings that is called Uri. Lovers' union, that is sexual union, is associated with Kurinji, the mountain region, that is the patient waiting. Then second, Mullai, the patient waiting. Third, sulking, that is the married woman's infidelity and wife's resentment. The fourth is anxious waiting of a married woman for lovers return from the work. The fifth is Palai, that is separation, desert-like region. These landscapes are not just geographical distinctions, but are essentially psychological and behavioral expressions of women in various phases of love. Passionate love, patient waiting, sulking over husband's infidelity, anxious waiting for the delayed return and hardship of separation. Only these 5 love themes form the subject of true love poetry. Besides these 5 phases of love, there are 2 non-geographical love themes called Kaikilai, the base relationship, otherwise called one-sided affair, and Parandinai, the excessive sexual passion. The former deals with the unreciprocated or one-sided love, while the latter concerns improper love or love against the rules of custom of abhorrent men, servants. Since these love themes are considered the emotions of improper men, they are not assigned or associated with any specific geographical landscape. Considering time constraints, I wish to focus on only 2 Sangam poems, one each representing Kurinji, that is mountain region, sexual union, Marudam Tinai, that is pastoral region of sulking. The composition of Agam poetry is neither entirely of the properties of Nadagavadakku, that is, dramatic usage, nor completely those of Ulagiyal Vadakku, the worldly usage, but of the properties of these two usages blend together called Pulaneri Vadakku. As such, the Agam poetry is the merged genre that combines dramatic description with the depiction of actual passionate behaviors of people. In the quest to illustrate the interior feelings of someone for everyone's enjoyment, the Tolkappiyam, the earliest Tamil grammar work, states no proper names of human characters should be mentioned. Such proper names are appropriate only for the Puram poetry, that is, none other themes. Thus, all the characters portrayed in ancient Tamil love poetry are wholly dramatis persona, and the landscapes depicted are purely poetic convention. Furthermore, in Agam poetry, the poet never speaks in his own voice, but through one of the dramatis persona. The Mudal and Kari elements discussed earlier are employed as signifiers to signify appropriate human feelings. For instance, in the realm of correspondence between lands, times, and things born in them, and in human sexual feelings, a word like Kurinji has several concentric circles of meaning. First, a flower. It means a flower. Then it means the mountain landscape. Then finally, the lovers' union. Single word represents three things. To accomplish this poetic design, Sangam poets intricately employ two unique literary techniques, namely Ullurai Omam, the hidden metaphor, and Iraichi, implied meaning. It is just like Vakrokti of Sanskrit tradition. Time and again, they illustrate their ulterior motives in sculpting, crafting love poems through these two nuanced literary techniques. As a result, their love poems provide a live vocabulary of symbols. The actual objective landscapes of Tamil country become the interior landscapes of Tamil poetry. Thus observes A.K. Ramanujan, the world-famous scholar. The interplay between geography and emotion is a central theme, wherein natural world mirrors, amplifies, and even shapes the emotional landscapes of the dramatis persona. In Sangam poetry, living beings are not depicted as isolated elements, but as integral components of the poetic landscape, aesthetically revealing the interior landscape of dramatis persona. An abundance of descriptions, similes, metaphors, implied metaphors, or inserts, and hidden meanings that involve the interior feelings and the exterior actions of birds and beasts are extensively employed as symbolic codes in Agam poetry to express the deeper, more subdued emotions of human love. Let me illustrate this point by discussing one poem each from Kurinji and Marudam. Kurinji, representing the mountain region, speculates on the union of lovers at midnight during the winter season. The term originally refers to the famous Strenthloberia kuntiana, a flower native to the mountain. The strobilanthes is a shrub of brilliant white or blue flowers that bloom only once every 9 to 12 years and the last for few days only. The flower is embodied here as a powerful symbol indicating the blossom of the feminine senses, signifying readiness for physical and spiritual union with the male. The conventions make for many kinds of economy in poetic design. Let us see the following short from the Kurundogai anthology penned by Devakulattar. The Tamil original poem is 4 lines only. Just I will recite it. நிலத்தினும் பெரிதே வானினும் உயர்ந்தன்று நீரினும் ஆரளவின்றே சாரல் கருங்கோல் குறிஞ்சி பூக்கொண்டு பெருந்தே நிழைக்கும் நாடனொடு நட்பே. It is a poem highlighting the deep love between the heroine and the lord of the mountain region. Somehow, her lover delays marrying her despite having sexual intercourse with her earlier. One night, as usual, he arrives at the heroine's place and waits near a house. Sensing his presence, the Saki, who is skeptical of his intentions, asks the hero about the strength of their love. In response, the heroine reveals their deep love in a manner that is both succinct and candid. The lovely poem is so splendidly rendered by A.K. Ramanujan in his book, Poems of Love and War, published by Oxford University Press in the year 1985. The poem goes like this: bigger than earth, certainly higher than the sky, more unfathomable than the waters is this love for this man of the mountain slopes, where bees make rich honey from the flowers of the Kurinji that has such black stalks. While this is the just translation of 4-line poem of Tamil, while deciphering the nuanced aspects of the poem in detail, the world-renowned translator very brilliantly interprets of the majestic mountain landscape and its magnificent flower with a theme of sexual union as follows. In quote, the Kurunji flower and the mountain scene clearly mark this as a Kurunji poem about lovers' union. The union is not described or talked about openly, but it is enacted by the inset, the hidden meaning, hidden metaphor, scene of the bees making honey from the flowers of the Kurunji. The lover is not only the lord of the mountain, he is like the mountain he owns. Describing this scene, describe the passion. The Kurunji, being a plant that takes about 12 years to come to flower, carries a suggestion assimilating the tree to the young tropical heroine who speaks the poem. Tolkapiam calls this technique of using the scene to describe act or agent ullurai uvamam, hidden or implicit metaphor. Furthermore, the poem opens with a large abstractions about our love. Our love is bigger than earth and higher than the sky, but it moves towards concreteness of black-stalked Kurinji, acting out by analog the virgin's progress from abstraction to experience. We may remember that this progression from basic cosmic elements to the specific component of a landscape is also the method of the entire intellectual framework behind the poetry. Moving from 5 elements to native elements to human feelings. The poem is the originally opens with the earth, sky, and water, moves through native elements of the mountain landscape, that is slope, bees, Kurinji flower, and ends with human feeling natpu, that is sexual relationship. The description of the imposing mountain region, the beautiful Kurunji flower, the act of honeybee drawing nectar from the flower and stocking of bountiful pure honey atop the hill may appear to be a conventional portrayal of the mountain slope. But the intention of the poet goes beyond more description. These elements are deliberately employed as symbols, or otherwise in Tamil it is called iraichi, implied meaning, subtly signifying the hero, the heroine, and their sexual union through evocative imagery. There are certain interesting botanical facts in embodying the Kurunji flower to signify the mountain landscape and the mood of first love. The Kurunji plant of the grows only 6,000 feet above the sea level. In the Nilgiri Blue Mountain area, Ooty, Uttarakhand, revealed that Kurunji plant usually takes about 9 to 12 years to bloom after it is planted. This botanic fact is symbolically assigned to the tropical virgin girls who usually attain puberty around the same age. Furthermore, the magnificent Kurunji flowers at all once bloom on the mountain slopes, covering them with millions of blossoms. This sudden and overwhelming transformation makes the Kurunji a powerful symbol of the intensity and abruptness of first love in young lady. As these mountain flowers contain pure and rich honey, bees swarm them frequently. Additionally, the Kurunji flowers are fiercely competitive, preventing other plants and trees from growing in their vicinity. This is characteristic, metaphorically parallels the passionate and possessive nature of teenage girls deeply in love. Then about Marudam. Marudam, the Thenai representing agricultural pasture land, speculates on verbal and mental conflicts between wife and husband due to the infidelity of the latter towards the former in the early morning hours before sunrise. It is named after the Arjuna tree. The region is a fertile, watery countryside. The hero of crop landscape enjoying life in abundance with plentiful resources often maintains an extraordinary or extramarital relationship with a paraktai, that is in English called concubine, who is younger and more beautiful than the wife. Marudam poems predominantly depict triangular love plots, where the hero visits to the concubine, compel the heroine to respond with a mix of coquetry and sulking. Often, in the love poems of Marudam Thenai, nature is used in allegories called Ullurai Omam. In English, it is translated as implied simile. All the elements of nature and their activities symbolically represent the hero, the heroine, the concubine, and others, and their activities in the drama of love. The dramatic characters are not at all mentioned, but only suggested through the Ullurai Omam, a literary technique. This technique, often illustrated as simile incognito, tests the capability of the reader to discern the hidden meanings woven into the poem. For instance, let us take a look at the poem of Marudam from Agananuru, masterfully composed by Allur Nanmulayar. The Tamil version is Settinilai Munayiya Sengatkara Urmadi Kangulil Nondalai Parinde Urmul Veli Kottin Niki Nirmudir Padanattu Minudan Iriye அந்தூம்பு வள்ளை மயக்கி தாமரை வண்டூது பனிமலர் ஆறும் ஊரே யாரையோ நிற்புலக்கே உரையிறந்தொளிரும் தாழிரும் கூந்தல் பிறரும் ஒருத்தியை நம்மனை தந்து வதுவை அயர்ந்தன என்ப அத்தியாம் கூரே வாழியர் எந்தை சருணர் களிருடை அருஞ்சமம் ததையே நூறும் ஒளிருவாள் தானை கொற்றச் செழியன் பிண்ட நெல்லின் அல்லூர் அன்னையன் உன் தொடி நிகழினும் நெழுக சென்றே பெருமை நிர்தகைக்குணர் யாரோ. This long poem is very brilliantly transcribed by one doctor, physician who is serving in America now, Vaidya Herbert, as follows. Women from the town were hating to stand in the mud. A red-eyed buffalo tied to a strong rope broke loose, lifted a sharp thorn fence, jumped into a pond with abundant water, cast fish to dart away and valley vines with a beautiful hollow stem to get tangled, and yet of watery lotus flowers on which bees were swarming. Who are you to a squirrel? They say that you brought someone with a dark hanging hair like flowing water into her house and married her. We did not say that. May you live long, O Lord. If my bangles that are bright like allure, rich in paddy, worn by the victorious king Cherian, who won difficult battles against enemies with elephants and crushed them with his bright sword, slip, let them slip. Lord, you can go wherever you want to go. Who is there to stop you? The wife just wished to scorn implicitly the infidelity of her husband who had been unfaithful to her sometime. So she disdainfully hailed the country of our Lord. O Lord of fertile land, I am nobody to sulk with you. You know, a robust buffalo of your country, in the middle of the night, left its shed clandestinely by snapping its rope. It removed the sharp thorny fence with its horns and went away from its shed. By daunting steps that scattered fishes hither and thither, they kept roaming in the water field. Then quietly it entered a lotus tank located on the outskirts. Thereupon, he squeezed the valley creepers, and blissfully it chewed lotus flowers that honeybees were flocking to. I did not, but others say that you brought a young, beautiful woman of long tresses to our home only to enjoy her sexually. Long live I, my Lord. Let my bangles slip away from my hand in the way the resourceful allure of Pandya kingdom once got reduced to penury. Thus, the wife describes the clandestine character of the buffalo, through which sarcastically she pointed out the infidelity of her husband, who has just returned from a brothel in the early morning. She discreetly makes him realize that she was in fact aware of his extramarital affair, of his loose morals, of pleasing the hairless parents and relatives, and returning home at dawn for formal stay. Here, the buffalo, the creepers, the lotus, the waterfield, etc., are not merely the elements denoting the fertile land, but serve as symbolic representations of key figures in the narrative. The buffalo signifies the hero. The fishes represent the village people. The valley creepers connote the parents of prostitute, and the lotus stands for prostitute. It is a fact that male buffaloes in the fertile lands of the countryside are typically known for their haughtiness, becoming bored of their routine fodders, snapping their robes, leaving their sheds, and wandering hither and thither, only to enter lush fields to chew on green leaves, tender plants, and lustrous flowers before finally resting in ponds, undeterred by scorching heat and unrelenting rains. These traits of the fellows serve as a fitting metaphor for the Sangam poets to signify deceitful married men from resources fertile land who seek concubines, mistresses for their sexual pleasure. These two poems discussed so far are just two fine examples that offer glimpse into the richness of Sangam classics, which would enthrall everyone. The natural landscapes and the native elements that sculpted in these poems reflect a deep reverence for the natural environment, while effectively conveying the nuanced interior landscapes of dramatis persona. To illustrate their ulterior thoughts effectively, the poets have aesthetically showcased the symbiotic relations between the natural world and the humanity. This is the hallmark of Agam poetry, which would have surely captivated everyone here and would do so elsewhere in future. Thanking you.
Thank you, Professor Govindaswamy Rajagopal, for your presentation. But this is my very new introduction to the theme. But I could guess some of the very important and relevant symbols. It is full of many symbols, and you are trying to capture the meaning of those symbols. And it is a poem based on love. And so, as far as I could follow, I find that you are trying to capture the whole picture of love as a theme through your presentation. And thank you for your presentation. Definitely, I'll go through your other papers and writings. As I see, there are lots of papers you have written on it. And the other speaker for this session, Professor G.S.R. Krishnamurti, he will be also not coming present today. So the only speaker left is me, that is Indrani Sanyal. So I can begin my talk now because time is short and I'll have to finish within time. Now, since I have been allotted to speak on Upanishad and Puran category, and since this is a vast domain, truly speaking, it is absolutely impossible for me to capture, and I think maybe it is very difficult for anybody else to cover all the nuances of Upanishad and Puran, but I have chosen the one very important theme. The title of my presentation will be The Interfaces of the Life Divine with Isha Upanishad, Some Positive Impacts. So, in my presentation, my objective is to revisit Sri Aurobindo's interpretation of Isha Upanishad along with his exploration of, and along with I will explore whether and how far the his text, the life divine, are interlinked with one another. Now Sri Aurobindo, he remained dedicated to a solid work. He always said that I am engrossed with a solid work. Now, and what was that solid work for Sri Aurobindo? Sri Aurobindo was exploring, in his language, I am saying, new philosophy and the new method of yoga. This was his solid work. And during the period of long 7 years, from 1914 to 1921, at Pondicherry, as the sole editor and author of the review journal Arya, he was engrossed with his religious and philosophical mission of reinterpreting Veda and Vedanta, that is, Upanishads, in the ancient sense, which he had recovered by his actual experiences of yoga. And all of his major and significant publications in continuous series, including all appeared together: the Life Divine, the Secret of Vedas, the selected hymns, hymns of the Uttris, hymns to the mystic fire, hymns to the Agni, the synthesis of yoga, the foundations of Indian culture, the human cycle, Kenu and other Upanishads, Isho Upanishad, and essays on the Gita. That means within the span of this 7-year period, he finished all his major writings, and he was the sole author and the sole editor of the review journal Arya. This is really incredible, unbelievable for us, for people like us who come from very commonsensical standpoint. Now, Sri Aurobindo was also vocal about his source of knowledge and for the formation of his philosophy. Now, my philosophy, he wrote in some correspondence, that my philosophy was formed first by studying the Upanishads and the Gita. The Veda came later. They were the basis of my first practice of yoga. I tried to realize what I read in my spiritual experience and succeeded. In fact, I was never satisfied till experience came, and it was on this experience that I later founded my philosophy, not on ideas by themselves. This is an important thing to keep in mind, that his philosophy, that is something he derived by his experiences, and experiences based on yoga. But we cannot forget his background. He is a product of modern period. He studied from 7 years of age at England, and all his educational career, young life, was nurtured in the soil of Britain. And so during that period, it was period of modernity. That is, everything was questioned. Reason was taken as the supreme faculty. And of course, that influence must have was also on him. But he cannot be taken to be, in that sense, a product of modern period, but definitely there was influence. So when he thought, when he pondered over his experiences, he had to rely on the mental capacity of the humans to convey his experiences to others. And in that way, he admitted that he became a philosopher. That is the way we understand philosophy in our Indian tradition, and in the Western tradition are dramatically opposite. In the West, philosophy is regarded wholly as a result of reasoning, rationality. But in India, philosophy had its origin through revelation, experience, and later on it is darshan. Later on, when schools of philosophies were established, it is after many long years. So, keeping this background in mind, My endeavor consists in highlighting at least some major domains from Sri Aurobindo's interpretation of Isho Upanishad along with his The Life Divine to bring to fore his pragmatic and realistic undertone. Sri Aurobindo was an earnest student of the Upanishads, that is Vedanta, and loosely speaking, Upanishads are so called as these are placed at the end portion of the Vedic literature. Sri Aurobindo, however, provides an important clue to the meaning of Vedanta as the culmination of the wisdom of the Vedas, and this way of understanding Upanishads why shows that why he rejected drawing an outright bifurcation between Veda and Upanishads, and which later thrived as an unmitigated antagonism between Karma Kando and Gyan Kando. That is, generally, Vedas are regarded as primarily concerned with karma, and Upanishad is primarily concerned as Jnana. And this is one of the very common way of drawing a division between Veda and Upanishad. But Sri Aurobindo made it clear, tried to make it clear that actually we should not draw this kind of rigid bifurcation. And he tried to show that there were also some kind of, we can say, close link between the two. So, the Life Divine, that is the text of Sri Aurobindo, opens up a philosophical perspective by also discovering the justification of the modern scientific theory of evolution in the light of ancient Vedantic truth. Sri Aurobindo got over the generally accepted antagonism between the viewpoint of Vedanta and that of modern Western science. The common way of characterizing science is as materialistic or physicalistic, for it has been generally observed that science speaks in the language of force and matter. That is, the very prevalent concept in science is of force and matter and their development process. And it has been persistently talked about in philosophical literature that the means of knowledge determines the range of objects. Hence, it is undeniable that the method adopted for a study is relevant in determining the scope of ideas in the body of that discipline. Sri Aurobindo hints at the limited range of scientific methods as he characterizes the seeing or vision that he was talking of, that is, Vedic seeing and vision is not the seeing or vision of science. Seeing or vision of science is opaque. And Sri Aurobindo does not deny what science has discovered. He never calls scientific truth to be illusory, nor does he abandon scientific truth as useless. Now, why I had to add this point? Because this is very much essential to understand the pragmatic relevance and the positive impact of Sri Aurobindo's interpretation of Isho Upanishad along with his text, The Life Divine. Now, in this connection, of course, an explanation, of course, is still pending before entering into detail of my present exploration to say something about the choice of my title, why I have chosen the title Interface between or Interface of Sri Aurobindo's Life Divine and Isho Upanishad. Why I have chosen this title. In other words, what had inspired me to find out interfaces of the life divine with Isha Upanishad? Now his magnum opus, The Life Divine, first appeared as a monthly series in the Philosophical Review Arya in the August 1914, and it continued till its end to January 1919. He was writing, and that journal used to be published every month. So every month it was his task to fill the whole journal by writing 64 pages. And he went on writing simultaneously all those 9 major works within the period of that 7 years. Now, when he started writing The Life Divine from August 1914, now, he also started writing his interpretation of Isho Upanishad. And there is an interesting hint, but he has not actually verbally or explicitly stated anything. Now, Sri Aurobindo wrote these were all in the draft form. Sri Aurobindo wrote 3 incomplete drafts of a commentary on the Isho Upanishad that he called the Life Divine. He was writing commentary on Isho Upanishad and he left those drafts incomplete, but he wrote as a title, The Life Divine. And what is more interesting, in August 1914, when he started writing The Life Divine in the Arya Review, he started along with first chapter of The Life Divine, and he published the first installment of a translation and analysis of the Isho Upanishad. Now, no explicit statement or clue was, however, provided by him as to why he had inserted the title The Life Divine over this commentary which he published along with his text, The Life Divine, and both were appearing in the same journal, but apparently he was dealing with different subject matters. Now, Sri Aurobindo obtained his inspiration for writing The Life Divine from the Vedic Upanishadic tradition is very much evident. Now, and in this connection, since time is short, it won't be possible for me to enter into all the details and to discuss all the nitty-gritties, but I have tried to bring to light broadly some of the concepts that he dealt with in his Life Divine, and have finally tried to show how his concepts are doing many leaving many pragmatic, we can say, benefits for humanity and for the world as a whole. Now, in Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, Sri Aurobindo says the highest being is Satchidananda, and this Sat Chit and Ananda, and I will stick only to his concept of Chit, that is consciousness. Now, this consciousness for Sri Aurobindo is consciousness force. Now, this is really something new in his Life Divine text when he speaks about Chit. Chit is not only consciousness, but it is consciousness force. And so here I need to clarify something about this very notion of consciousness force from Sri Aurobindo's perspective. In Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, the phrase of self manifestation involves the absolute through a process of involution and evolution, manifesting itself into the universe with the ultimate goal of achieving a divine life on earth through the evolution of consciousness. Now, If I go on hurriedly, this may seem little bit obscure to some ears who are not that much familiar with Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, but Sri Aurobindo actually trying to provide the explanation about the origin of this earth. Now, one very common way of explaining how the world is born. Now, generally, we get ideas from different creation theories. There are lots of creation theories. Now, in many creation theories, always there is a distinction between the creator and the created. And in some creation theories, that is in some Vedanta or in some Vedantic theories, of course, this is creation, but this is not said to be true creation, but this is said to be a kind of Maya, illusion. But Sri Aurobindo explains creation as the self manifestation of the Satchidananda. And here, Satchidananda, how it how it manifests itself. Now he depends on an evolutionary theory. Now the very notion of evolution we can get in Indian philosophy to some extent from the Shankho philosophers. They talk about utpatti, creation, srishti in terms of their, we know that Purinambad. But Sri Aurobindo here brings in two concepts, one evolution and another involution. Now, evolution is the process of self manifestation of the absolute. But what is the nature of that absolute? That is also equally important. Now, in the case of Vedanta, in the case of especially Advaita Vedanta that is prevalent, that we obtain from Shankaracharya, here the creation theory has been explained with the account of Maya. That is, there is kind of Maya. And in the Mayabad of Shankaracharya, we find there is also some difficulties in reconciling Maya with the Brahman, because one of the very difficult issue that was raised against Shankaracharya's view that where from this Maya comes, what is the locus of Maya? Is Maya located in Brahman or it is outside Brahman? If Maya is located in Brahman, then Brahman, which is said to be Satchidananda, which is said to be Shat, this also, why not this Brahman will get infected by Maya? And Brahman is said to be Satchidananda, but he is never said to be Mayabhat. That is not acceptable. That will go against the very definition, notion of Brahman. And if it is said that Maya can exist outside Brahman, then also another problem arises. Then two realities have to be admitted apart from Brahman, something like Maya, which is independent of Brahman, that has to be admitted. These were some of the perennial issues, and this these conflicts of opposition that pursued years after years. And of course, Sri Aurobindo was very much respectful to Shankaracharya. Of course, he never trying to show any kind of disrespect to Shankaracharya, but from his account of this notion of consciousness force and from his interpretation of Upanishad, we may find a way of reconciling this notion of Maya with that of Brahman, and to which I will refer to now. Now, according to Sri Aurobindo, evolutionary growth is a triple process. It involves processes of widening, heightening, and integration. That is, when do we say that consciousness is evolving? Now, consciousness, what does it mean? Now, in our seminar from the morning, there are lots of discussions on the notion of evolution. And at times, I felt that I must say something here, but I didn't because that was not my time. But here, if we come to Sri Aurobindo, we find that how extended sense here evolution has been given by Sri Aurobindo. Now, evolution does not generally, by evolution, we mean heightening, that is, increasing. But for him, evolution is also widening. And that is not enough. Evolution also means integrating. This is the very gist of evolution in Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. And when he is talking about consciousness force, that is Chit Shakti, this Shakti is active, and this Shakti functions in triple ways. It strengthens or heightens itself, it widens itself, and also it integrates itself. And in that way, of course, this is not the time, we will see why I say that Sri Aurobindo's philosophy provides a very pragmatic and realistic interpretation of Vedanta, that is Upanishad, because this philosophy can pave a very smooth path for society, social philosophy, political philosophy, and also for metaphysics. And consciousness is fundamental. So, to Sri Aurobindo, consciousness is fundamental. It is existence, Shat. It is the energy, the motion, the movement of consciousness that creates the universe. Consciousness creates not only the macrocosm but also microcosm. He clarifies the creation of consciousness means that consciousness is arranging itself. He adds that when consciousness forgets itself in its movement or in stress of movement, becomes apparently unconscious energy. And when it forgets itself, it becomes in form the electron, the atom, and material objects. Now, as I have already pointed out, he provides us a theory of evolution, but the other very close aspect of the theory of evolution is his view of involution, because the consciousness, it it has a process of descension, it comes down. Now when consciousness comes down, it gradually veils itself, and this veiling of consciousness he calls the state of forgetting itself, as if consciousness forgets itself. Consciousness, which is consciousness, it takes different shapes. It takes the form of, say, different forms of life, mind, matter. That is matter that he says is the last poise of consciousness, when it is in a state of inconscience. But actually, it is consciousness, but it is another form, another appearance of consciousness. And in that form, also, what we say, this consciousness which evolves, which is evolutionary force, that also remains veiled within itself. So the question naturally will arise, if consciousness can evolve, now why consciousness has involved itself? Now here, admission of involution, it is, we can say, is a kind of presupposition to establish the very process of evolution. And whatever has Sri Aurobindo has written on the basis of all the seers. I'll come to all those. He has always tried to provide his source of knowledge, That is where from he gathered all these ideas. So, from Sri Aurobindo's perspective, the existence is inherently free to manifest its potentiality or not to manifest through movements. So, ultimate, that is what is called ultimate, that is consciousness, but that is the static state of consciousness. But within that static condition of consciousness, consciousness is inherently containing its potentiality to manifest itself, and also contains inherently its potentiality not to manifest itself. So consciousness, that is absolute existence, it is at one stage it is totally silent, it is inactive. Now in this connection, Sri Aurobindo again refers to different passages from Vedas and Upanishads. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, it has been said, the Ashato eva shad jayata, that is from non-existence. Now Sri Aurobindo explains clearly that here we should not understand Ashata in a negative sense. We should not mean that Ashata means non-existence, but actually it means which we cannot express in language, because it is beyond human comprehension. It is above human comprehension. It is beyond all cosmic consciousness. It is in the supra-cosmic, supra-rational, supra-mental state. And this humans cannot capture by any language, by any expression. So Sri Aurobindo's evolutionary thesis, including two pivotal ideas, with the involution and evolution, and presupposes conscious force as lying inherent in consciousness. So, Sri Aurobindo, this force is not simply a movement of action and process, but it is Chit Shakti, that is consciousness force. And according to Sri Aurobindo, this is the Vedic and Upanishadic view, that consciousness force or Chit Shakti as energy, and whenever we speak of energy, force, it seems that we are coming close to science, because science favors this kind of concept of energy, concept of force, and Sri Aurobindo also here uses that terminology, and also because of its nature. And Sri Aurobindo did not minimize the importance of matter. Matter also is Brahman, and again he quotes from Upanishad and says that Annam Brahma. So this is also available in Upanishad. Now how Brahman and Maya are to be viewed from Sri Aurobindo's perspective. Now all these possibilities do not abolish infinite consciousness. That is, infinitude of the absolute consciousness is in no way hampered by his admitting Maya, because but it has to be admitted that infinite consciousness is not evidently active only by implication, by inherence, or by the instrumentality of the limited occurrences, nor in its own manifest power and presence. It is evident that all these powers are accepted as possible to the dynamics of the infinite consciousness, and it is by considering the many ways in which they can work that we may get clues to the operations of Maya. Sri Aurobindo admits the world is Maya, but when he says the world is Maya, he is not saying world to be Maya in tune of Shankaracharya. Though in spite of his, we can say, deep regard and respect for Guru Shankaracharya. Maya, in its original sense, meant a sort of consciousness marked specifically by two kinds of potential: by its comprehending or apprehending capacity, and by its containing or accommodating capacity. Both aspects define the formative or moldable feature of Maya. That is, according to Sri Aurobindo, Maya, that is this playfulness of Brahman, that is Lila, that has been explained from two different perspectives. One is divine Maya and other is the overmental Maya. And accordingly, as he speaks of divine Maya and overmental Maya, role of Maya is also are different. He affirmed that the process of consciousness brought ignorance or Maya into existence. And Sri Aurobindo was genuinely committed to the view that ignorance must be part of the movement of the one. That is, Maya for Sri Aurobindo is nothing different or separate from the infinite absolute Brahman. Sri Aurobindo explains ignorance as a phenomenon of the dynamics. So, Maya is the supreme and universal consciousness and force of the eternal. Maya, by its very nature, unbound and illimitable, it can put forth many states. And also, he explains his view and role of Maya in a very, also here, figurative language. Shiva and Kali, Brahman and Shakti are one and not two who are separable. Now let me turn. Now, after this brief introduction to Sri Aurobindo, I would like to clarify his way of understanding the nature of Upanishad and its impact on Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine. Now, I'll finish it within 5 minutes. Sri Aurobindo describes in a nutshell Upanishad. Upanishads are vehicles of illumination. The Upanishads are literary compositions by the Vedic and Vedantic seers for the seekers who were in quest of truth and had some personal experiences of truth on which their subjects were founded. And the Isha Upanishad, it is the shortest Upanishad. Isha Upanishad contains only 18 verses. And Isha Upanishad, Sri Aurobindo maintains, is a text loaded with implicit ideas, and no implicit ideas were conveyed explicitly as per the requirement of rational intellect. Now, the Vedic and Vedantic seers' expectations, the Vedic and Vedantic seers in conveying ideas implicitly in verses may had some expectations. These verses containing implicit ideas would be warmly received by hearers, readers, as instrumental to confirming their intuitions. And simultaneously, readers and hearers' confirmed intuition would assist in the verification of the personal experience of the seers. Now, okay, time is short. So what Sri Aurobindo did, he tried to show that if we go through Isha Upanishad from his analysis and commentary on Isha Upanishad, he tried to show that Isha Upanishad is drawing attention to 9 sorts of oppositions. Now, of these oppositions, that is opposition between conscious Lord and phenomenal nature. Now, when I am discussing about Sri Aurobindo's consciousness force in terms of his theory of evolution and involution, we find this distinction he has overcome: action in nature, that one stable Brahman and the multiple movement, for him they are integrated. The same Brahman is active and the same Brahman is silent. And also between being and becoming, absolute Brahman is a being and whole this cosmic world. This is becoming of the Brahman. This is in the one and the same Brahman. And also works and knowledge, that is karma and gyan. We should not draw any rigid demarcation between karma and gyan. And in fact, when he is explaining Isha Upanishad, he says that in Isha Upanishad it has been stated that Shatang Shama Jijibishet, that is, you live for 100 years. But how? Karmona, karmoni ebo, that is by performing work. Now, this performing work is by takteno, that is takteno bhunjita. It is not an injunction, but it is the very spirit of Upanishad. That is, work is also very much important. And he tried to show that, yes, work has been linked with Lagan in Upanishad, and he also has shown in his interpretation of Vedas that there, though Vedas are generally considered to be ritualistic, and Vedas have contributed to various serious, we can say, demarcations among people. But actually, Sri Aurobindo has said and explained that we did not take Vedas in its true spirit. Now, where there are rituals, the rituals were on many occasions symbolic when they're talking about sacrifice. We say that Vedas encourage Pushuboli. Now, here, sacrifice actually is a symbolic expression, and it is saying that sacrifice your egoistic mind. But actually, that was not conveyed to the ordinary common sense people. And actually, it became so much ritualistic and it totally abandoned knowledge. But when it is talking about Veda and in his interpretation, that is, Aces on the Veda, we will find he also brings out different symbols. That is, when we say that go eshona, gobeshona, that is also search for the cow. And here he says that cow here stands for knowledge, illumination, light. So in that way, he tried to provide some very pragmatic solutions to the resolution of the most of the conflicts that we also daily face in our cosmic life, in our earthly existence. So thank you.
With that, we thank both our eminent scholars on the dais for this very informative session, talking about the origin, the evolution, regards to the literary traditions. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short tea break. We will resume our sessions at 4:30. And this time, our last session of today is going to be on Anuvad, that is the translations. Thank you.